on the drag, goes inside the floor. Scoops it up. Booker brings the boom.
We're bringing the boom. It's NBA Hardwood show on a Friday, talking obviously the association. Joel Embiid out for the season, so glad we don't have to deal with him anymore. I know this is a chat that doesn't like Joel Embiid, so I'm sure everyone is rejoicing. We got so much injury news. I know everyone, especially my guy DC, can't wait for an injury report from your very own Mangone. But DC, I'll go to you first. How excited are you for today's injury report?
Excited, probably not the word I would use, but I am excited for the slate tonight, Mangone. I'm mostly recovered from our little date last Saturday. It took me a week to mentally recover from that, but feeling good these days, and I will say,
you're not trying to run it back, DC? You don't want to run it back this Saturday?
You know, I'm not blaming you, but I will say you were with me that night. I lost almost every fighter I placed a bet on, and I'll be honest, it has not been a great week of DFS for me after visiting you either. I got the Porzingis injury, I got the Avdia injury. I didn't play Daron Sharp that night. I didn't play Steph Curry, who went off for 80. So. You know how DraftKings gives you in the last 7 days, you've won like X dollars and so many tickets? It's a bad number for me right now. So we got to turn that around starting tonight.
Yeah, well, DC, it's been good for me. So I want you back.
You took my powers. They transferred to you, and now I'm just dusty teams every night. It's not good.
Since you've been gone though, DC, they're having some upgrades to the house. I got a new desk, so brand new desk is set up and everything. But let's bring in JSU.
It looks really clean behind you, Mangone. There's a whole pile of shit back there before. You clean up that back wall of yours?
Yeah, because I had to. I used the gift card to have that guy come set it up, so I had to clean out the entire office to make sure.
Is the tape measure still in the corner, or is that cleaned up too?
No, the tape measure is near the door with a bunch of stuff they have to throw out the dumpster. So I gotta go over to the dumpster and toss it out, but. All right, JSU, we'll go on over to you. Chris wants me to quit DFS, or he wants DC to quit DFS and blog about me. So is that how we should use DC's paycheck over here at Run Pure, JSU, since you're the boss?
I mean, I could see. I'm definitely not the boss, but I could see DC being a pretty solid blogger. I could see him doing some work, writing some good articles, interesting articles. I think he'd get some good engagements. I'm just going to throw that out there.
We wear many hats over here at RPS, so yeah, we'll add to what we're doing, not take away.
Some wear many hats, and some wear a beanie all the time. DC, that's how it goes.
I want to know, how many times a month do you wash that beanie? And be honest.
I'd probably say 2 times a month. I'd say, yeah, 2 times.
Oh, okay, that's more than I thought. I thought you were going to say once. I thought for sure you were going to say once.
No, I don't put it in every load of laundry, probably every other. I think that makes the most sense.
By the way, Mangone, it's just interesting. So you get shit on a lot for certain things, but I don't hear you get shit on for your hair as much, and I don't know if it's because you constantly wear your beanie. But I'll tell you right now, if my head looked like yours, I'd be getting killed on every single show by everyone, but it might just be the beanie. So maybe when my hair gets ridiculous, I should get a beanie.
The chat kills me. They say I look like I have homeless, haven't showered. It's all the time. I don't care. Like, go ahead. I'm
just saying that would get me destroyed. When my hair gets bad, I get made fun of, which I don't care, but I'm just saying it's just interesting. Maybe I should wear the hat. DC, you think I should wear beanies when my head gets crazy?
Yeah, maybe to hide it from Big T. That's not a bad idea. The thing I don't get is, Sam, look at my hair right now. You can see a lock, basically. You see one lock, and you're going to say it just looks greasy just like that? Like,
you didn't say your hair. He said you in general.
Oh, I thought you meant the hair. Sorry, we're on the conversation. Yeah, that's fine.
By the way, yeah, you guys almost made me crash the car. Does JSU brush his teeth in the shower? Yesterday, I heard you guys talking about this. Only actual psychopaths brush their teeth in the shower, guys. I literally almost swerved off the road when someone said my name, and I think it was Mango. Mango was like, JSU probably does that. Hell no, I don't do that.
Wait. People brushing their teeth in the shower? That's just absurdity.
Mango does.
I do. Yeah. I mean, it's not like I do it like every time, but like if I happen to be like if I'm getting in the shower and I need to brush my teeth, I just do it together.
Why can't you just get out of the shower after you're done and brush your teeth?
I don't know. It saves a little time. I don't know.
Mango, you play video games like 7 hours a day. You have time to take the 2 minutes and brush your teeth outside the shower.
It's just like, I don't know. It's just something I did, and I haven't stopped. Yeah, you can't floss in the shower, Matt. Agree 1,000%. You cannot.
And I got like a whole system too. Like you gotta floss first, then you gotta brush your teeth. So you can't do all that, and you got to do it like one after the other. So I could never, brush my teeth in the shower. It's too many steps. I use a water pick too before I do the regular flossing. So
I do have a water pick too, JSU. I do. Not everyone has.
No, the water pick's legit. I love the water pick. Yeah,
it's
great.
Mr. Drunk Guy, I didn't know you stand with me, but mostly because there's nowhere to sit. So I guess that was a good job. I had to post it.
That was good.
That was a good one.
Yeah,
it's funny too, because normally I'm the one called the psychopath for my takes, like my crazy food takes and stuff like that. It's nice to be on the other side of the psychopath.
Well, you don't like pizza, so I mean that's just like absolute psychopath behavior. But I think that's worse. That's worse than brushing your teeth in the shower. But
I mean, I don't know. I think it's weirder that you brush your teeth in the shower. It might not be worse from like a take perspective, but I think it's definitely weirder.
The show is with Big T. Does he do similar brush in the shower?
Hell no, he don't brush in the shower.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't do that. But he obviously he poops with his shirt off. Right, that's a key one. He takes like 3 showers a day or something. And like the best is like Tony poops. Like when he poops, if he's like out like at the airport, he'll take the shirt off. Like that's just too far for me. Like I can't do that. I'll do it at home, but not like out in public. I think that's crazy.
Listen, Big T's a man's word. If he says he does something, he does it all the time. He doesn't care where he's at. He doesn't care the scenarios. He just gotta do what you gotta do.
Like this.
Your water pick is a shower head. You just blasting yourself with that.
That is funny. That's good stuff. Like DC, imagine being at Hooters and you go to take a shit and you have to take your shirt off. I don't think I could do that. That seems a little too far, right, DC?
Yeah, there's no fucking way I'm taking my shirt off if I'm taking a shit at Hooters. It's staying on 100%.
Oh yeah, the other one was Tony always gets pedicures, so he refuses to clip his own toenails. He thinks it's like crazy that people clip their own toenails, which is a funny one.
That is. I seen this dude though, like literally, if he has like a hair out of place, he'll be like, Amber, his wife, he'd be calling his wife down, like you gotta cut this for me real quick, like a quick little snip or something. That dude is crazy OCD. So all this stuff is, I can just see him saying this stuff. But the pedicure thing is just on another level. Like he is all into it, and I'm like, that's just weird.
By the way, Beefy Lair, thank you for noticing. I noticed this, and Tony was like, no one's going to notice that, blah, 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 blah. Like, because the Luka 77 is right below us right there. I don't think everyone knows that that's an old one. So, yeah, we'll have to see if that gets adjusted, or maybe we'll just keep it there. But, yeah, we had a long slate.
And it's teammates. We knew this trade was happening. We paired them together. Yeah. This was an old graphic. We knew at some point LeBron was going to get to play with Luka, because LeBron just likes he gets the superstars passed around, like, because it's LeBron. So he just gets them all, at some point in their careers. So
I got one more question, JSU. What about, is that Jokic hiding there right next to LeBron? Is that the 5 in the Nuggets? Is that Jokic?
I think it is. I think we did that purposely. Like, screw Tony. We're not going to actually let Jokic be shown, fully. We're going to keep him in the full background, but he's almost there, so you can kind of see it.
Yeah, maybe it's Jokic. Is Jokic going to the Lakers, DC? Is that what's happening here?
If LeBron wants it, yeah, LeBron gets it. He gets to play. He gets to play with whoever he wants. Those are the rules.
They'll just shuffle things around, whatever it takes.
No problem. Yeah.
Get him over.
I will say, JSU, you are going to have a field day next year on Twitter with the LeBron goodbye tour. You are going to have an absolute field day making fun of it.
You think it's going to be next year?
It's going to be, yeah. I think it's next year, and it's brutal. Like, the only way it's not, the only way it's not is if they somehow get like a player or two that clearly shows they have a really nice 2-year window. Then,
I'm going to say this. I don't think it's next year.
Me neither.
I don't think it's next year. I think he's playing at still a level where he himself is going to be like, I can keep doing this for another year. I think he's going to have to like feel the fall off in a way to where he's like, okay, next year's my last year.
We know he's getting the full retirement tour year.
Tour.
He's not going to be. He's not going to be ready this off season to officially give it up. You know,
unless he like breaks down, which I don't think is going to happen. But you never know. I mean, like you know, when it goes, kind of like. But you know, then Kobe comes back from the Achilles, and everyone like. So I don't know. Who knows? But I mean, has he ever really had like a major injury? I don't think ever, right?
No. He's never been out for like 2 months. Like I don't think
I still remember the time he hurt his ankle in Boston, and it was I forget the exact game. I don't know if it was the Paul Pierce retirement game or if it was a playoff game, but like the fans were going nuts. Like it was the first quarter, he was limping off the floor, and the fans were going nuts. And I was like, man, stop saying stuff. He's just going to come back. Like, he's not human. Like, he's just going to, he's going to somehow come back and play the whole game. Right after the timeout, man, he walks right back on the floor. Like, literally went from couldn't walking to walk right back on the floor. It's like, yeah, this guy's not human.
This is a good take. He's given 2 years notice to prepare for the tour. And that way we can talk for 2 years about
I'm serious. I wouldn't be stunned if he dragged it along thinking like, I can do this until like something hits him.
Or did the whole year tour and then decided to play again the next year anyway. Something like that.
I could see. And then he gets another tour. Like that. That'd be ultimate right there.
One wasn't enough. He's back for another one.
Yeah, playoffs.
All right. Hit the like, as Colin said, you chumps. Hit the like, and let's get on to the show.
By the way, too, man, before we get off this topic, I did bet right after the Luka trade, the exact finals with the Lakers and the Celtics, just because we all know it's going to happen. The ratings are down.
What are the odds?
So when I bet it, I think it was 50-1 for 50 or 60-1 for the Lakers to win the championship against the Celtics, and then I think the Celtics one was like 35 at the time or 30. I can't remember exactly, but I bet both sides of it because I was like, this is what's going to happen. The ratings were down. They traded for Luka. We're going to get a Celtics Lakers finals series for the ratings. The old rivalry back, all the superstars. It's just a perfect setup for the ratings being down. So that's my take for the ratings being down. This whole Luka thing was all set up in conjunction with Dallas moving to Las Vegas. And they were like, perfect, we can make this all work. We're going to get the Lakers involved. You can trade for shitty Anthony Davis, even though they wanted to trade him for like Anthony Edwards and like all these other good guys, but like you can get Anthony Davis and go from there. So that's what's going to happen, man. I can see it.
I hope you're right. I'd be a fan of that one. It would be a good one to watch. So, all right, we're gonna dive into this late. DC, grab your RPS Yeti, take a sip, enjoy. I'm gonna go through the entire injury report. We have to do it on a slate like this. Aaron Gordon, questionable. Jaylen Brown, Luke Cornett, Kristaps Porzingis in that Celtics game. They are all questionable, which will be huge for the Celtics. Portland, Brooklyn, Denny Avia, and Jeremy Grant. They are all questionable. Chet Holmgren, he's questionable. Go to the Memphis Grizzlies and the New York Knicks. Desmond Bane, Gigi Jackson, Josh Hart, Mitchell Robinson, and Karl Anthony Towns, all questionable. Toronto and Chicago, we got Ayo DeSumo. He's questionable, along with Nikola Vucevic, who is doubtful, and Scotty Barnes, questionable for this game. We go on over to Indiana, Miami, TJ McConnell, Bam Adebayo, Andrew Wiggins, all questionable. The New Orleans Pelicans, they're already missing CJ McCollum and Zion, but we got doubtful for Phoenix, Grayson Allen. Minnesota, Utah, Ant is already out, so Minnesota will be the key part of the slate with all the values. DiVincenzo's questionable, along with Jordan Clarkson, John Collins, Colin Sexton, and then last but not least, we'll add it on there, Norman Powell, Luka, Jackson Hayes, and LeBron James all questionable. So those are all the injuries, DC. What's your thoughts on that?
My thoughts is I agree with AP. Just announce the damn injuries when you go game by game through the slate. There's no need to read them off. I hope everyone went and got a beverage or to relieve themselves or something, because that's the worst 1 minute of the show right there.
What's worse about this whole thing is that, when we get to the game, Mangone's going to let us know again how like X team could be without AG, and that's a big part. So he's going to tell us the injuries twice in a row. So we got the whole rundown. Everyone's going to forget, pretty much everyone that Mangone just said. I already forgot like everyone.
He's
and
wasting,
then we're going to go back.
So much of my time, I'm going to have to start brushing my teeth in the shower to compensate for the time Mangone stealing from me.
Well, if you guys want, I could help Drew out and start over again. He forgot most of it. You guys,
God, please,
do it again if you guys want to. But all right, let's get into the slate and talk about the games. Again, I think when it's slates like this, I would be backloading. I'm just going to call that out. I thought backloading was a great idea yesterday. It worked out good for me. I'm definitely going to do it a bit again. First game up, though, I don't know if you guys saw this line. It was like basically a pick'em between the Detroit Pistons and the Denver Nuggets. Don't look now, DC. Tobias Harris is a key piece to a team. We also have Aaron Gordon, who's questionable. That's a very, very important piece of news, because that'll obviously give some bumps to some of these players. Michael Porter Jr. could definitely get a bump at 6.1K. And of course, Big T already has one core play up if you are a member at Run Pure Sports. He's already got Nikola Jokic in the core today, and we're going to have enough value if you want to jam him in there. Jay, so you're shaking your head. Are you not on the Nikola Jokic train, or are you just making fun of Big T?
I try to help my friends constantly, and Big T is just a lost soul homer when it comes to Nikola Jokic. Like, he is just not when you look at what he's done, he has been amazing. Fantasy wise, been amazing, but like from a slate perspective, you have just not needed to spend up for someone like him to win a tournament in a while, honestly. Even when he has good games, I know the argument is like, just take the 60, whatever. But for someone like him at his price on slates that we've been getting, where a lot of times we're just getting certain values, like he's just not hitting in the winning lineups as much. So I haven't been paying up for him. He's been really good. I'm not like saying he hasn't been really good. He has been. It's just like, I think right now, the way DFS is going, you're going to need more than 65, 70 from him, which is crazy to say, but like, it's just the truth, I think, with the slates that we have. So no, I think it's just funny that Big T plays him every single slate. I get it though. It's his guy. So he rides with his guys, and he is like just a triple double monster. Like he's gonna probably get a triple double again tonight. This line did flip. I think the Pistons were 2-point favorites, Mangone, and now the Nuggets are 1-point favorites, at least on DraftKings Sportsbook right now. So the line's kind of moving in Denver's way. I will say Detroit's been one of those teams. They've been a tough team regular season anyways. I don't know when the postseason hits how that's going to change and affect a little bit, but they just got like they got a solid bench too. They got a good amount of veterans to go with these young guys, and Cade's been really good. So it's a tough spot for a back-to-back here for Denver. And like you said, with the AG injury, it kind of feels like he might, sit after playing 33 minutes last night. I could see him sitting. So, yeah, I think that there's going to be some good plays in this game. I do agree with you, though, that depending on what other news we're waiting on, I might end up backloading a little bit, just depending on the news. But if AG is out, I would definitely like Denver more. I think Detroit's like the tougher team to get to because they do play a lot of guys. You know what I mean? Tim Hardaway gets 28 minutes. Malik Beasley gets, somewhere between like low 20s and mid 20s minutes. They got Dennis Schroeder, who's getting some run. So they just got a lot of guys who they can throw at you. So, outside of Cade and Jalen Duran, I know you'll probably talk about Tobias Harris, Mangone. Even like Oscar Thompson it's just tough when like his minutes never improve. Like he can get there. He can get you 35, which could get there. So like maybe you keep him in the pool. But for me, I think I'm just a little lower on their side and maybe higher on Denver, depending on if Gordon does sit. Because I do think if Gordon does sit, it's got to make Westbrook a better play. It's got to make Christian Brown a better play, Michael Porter Jr. a better play. So if I do play anyone from this, it's probably those mid-tier Denver guys.
Yeah, for me, I think it's more like just getting like maybe a stud or two. And I'm going to be lower on this game just because, again, I want to backload. And Spanier's asking how I handle it or how anyone handles it. And I think it's just looking at the earlier values and trying to make a decision. People lock into that ownership and you get guys lower owned later on, right? Like Tyus Jones, if you knew his projection at, like an hour before lock yesterday, he would have been 40 or 50% owned. Instead, he was 19% owned on DraftKings. On our other site, he was 9% owned. He would have been like 30% owned. So that's part of it, is just like understanding, I don't know what news is going to hit, but there's so much news that's going to hit that we're going to figure it out. Probably why I don't like Tobias Harris that much. I will admit, I normally like him under 6K, and it's an interesting matchup. I do think this game could be a good back and forth game. DC, I'm sure you're going to be lower on this game because there's just so much news that's going to come later and so much value that we already have in the later games.
Yeah, I agree with you guys for the most part that we mention this often on these bigger slates, Friday nights. The injury news are coming down the pipeline after the first game of the night, this one. And you got to be careful not to lock in questionable value, right? Early on in the night and lock yourself out of good values that will be lower owned even than the, quote unquote, good first value of the night in this game. So I'm with you guys. I'm not really, a little different if Aaron Gordon misses, then I do agree with JSU. Porter Jr., Christian Brown, Westbrook become interesting. Pistons side, I don't think I'm going to get to anyone outside of potentially Cade Cunningham. I think the best way to play this game, if you want to play it, is to play the two studs. Play Cunningham and Joker on the same team. And then leave yourself the rest of your 6 spots open for all the different value that could emerge, right? So you've locked in the 2 studs at high price tags. You're going to need big scores out of them. But if you get it, now you can kind of fill out those remaining spots with the value that pops up throughout the night. So I do think that could be an interesting way to build, a single entry team. This game has a 240 total, expected to be very close. You could get, 130 combined out of Cade and Joker to start off the night, and then maybe get some awesome value as the slate progresses. So I do think that's an interesting way to play this game. I'm not sure I'll end up there, but I'm at least considering it as of right now.
DC, you can definitely do that because last night in the $4 where I got second place, my team had Jokic, Booker, and LeBron James, and then just littered with values that were in the other games. And trust me, I did not plan it to, build a 3-stud lineup.
It's a fun way to build tonight because we don't know for sure exactly who the value is going to be, but we do know pretty sure that there's going to be a lot of good value plays that do pop up throughout the night. So you lock in the studs and you wait and you see what comes up there. And I think that's a pretty fun way to build tonight. I'll probably end up doing that on at least one team.
Yeah.
The one thing, man, going to is we only have one game at 9, and all the other games are between 7 and 8. And the game at 9, we already kind of have the guys in and out, honestly, news, right? We don't have the exact starting lineups. I think we can guess the starting lineups we could possibly see from both teams. But, that's huge from that standpoint. So I will just say, this slate is different from yesterday's slate because yesterday's slate, you had one game at 7, and then the next game didn't start till 8, and then it was 8:30, 9, 10. We had that 10 o'clock game. This slate's a little different because it would be like having all the news from the 10 o'clock game before the first lock even started, right, Mangone? And we kind of have that here, and there's less time in between game 1 and the last game. So just something to note with the backloading is we do have the latest news. We already kind of have it, We just don't have the exact starters.
Yeah, I would play just like yesterday. Like in the first game, I was cool with having Steph Curry, Jimmy Butler, Banchero, and Franz Wagner, but I didn't want like the values like Jonathan Isaac or any of these like weird ones that are just pushed in there. That's how I want to play it with Denver and Detroit. Let's get to OKC and Atlanta. I do think you could play this one similar too and just load up on some of these studs. We do obviously have some news in this game. Chet Holmgren, he is questionable. If Chet Holmgren is out, obviously that would help out Isaiah Hartenstein, who is 6.3K in the matchup against Atlanta. And hey, Atlanta is a team that we love to target. I will call this out too. I know I like to talk about Onyeka Okongwu. 5.6 is really cheap for someone that has the ability to get 50 DK points. I will say. So I like Onyeka Okongwu's price tag. Hartenstein will be a really interesting play. And then, of course, SGA in a fast-paced game if these Hawks can keep it close. JSU, curious to get your take on what you're doing with this game starting at 7:30 Eastern.
Yeah, I mean, I love the centers, both centers. I feel like Chet sits. So if Chet's obviously in, then I won't like Hartenstein as much. But if Chet's out, like 6'3" Hartenstein, I think is a really good play. And I love the center on the other side on Onyeka Okongwu. I like what you said. The price tag feels cheap. And we've seen centers have monster games against OKC. We just saw Day'Ron Sharpe. I said it. I literally said it. I was on the show with DC, and I said, like, this is a perfect matchup. You know, he is like the clear, and everyone liked him, obviously, but it was a good matchup for him as well. I didn't know that he was going to play 31 minutes. I think that might have also played into the fact that he was playing so goddamn well. They couldn't take him off the floor. But, you know, I think Onyeka Okongwu has, you know, a similar type upside. And I like the pairing, Mango. And I don't normally love playing two centers from the same game, but if Chet's out, I could definitely play both these guys together. After those two guys, though, I'm probably not going to play the studs from OKC. I mean, you could play SGA. You know, I wouldn't like take him out of the pool. I just personally probably won't get there on my main team. But if you're like MMEing, I'd keep him in there for sure. You know, and then the other guy I kind of like from OKC is Aaron Wiggins, whose role I feel like has been really good with this team, especially when like one or two guys are out, Mangone. So like if Chet is out and already Caruso's out, I think that helps him a little bit too. So he's the other guy, kind of a fringe guy. I want to make sure Chet's out, but if Chet's out, I'm going to like Wiggins and Hartenstein from OKC, and from Atlanta, I'm going to like Okongwu, mainly Okongwu, I think, from Atlanta.
All right, DC, I see you nodding your head there with the Okongwu take, but also talk about Georges Niang. These are values we probably don't play today, right? That's my assumption. I think on other slates it would make sense, but talk about what you're doing with a guy like Georges Niang versus these other values we're going to get and some of the other plays in this game.
Yeah, won't be playing Niang. Pretty much everything JSU said, I find myself agreeing with. Specifically the Chet news. I think that's really, really big, obviously, perhaps, to the OKC side. But, like, if he's out, I mean, I really think it brings in play a lot of their team. Yeah, some of the values become pretty solid, guys like Wiggins. But I do agree that the biggest bump by far is to Hartenstein, who I think would become, you know, one of the top plays on the slate at 6,300 if Chet misses. I mean, this game has a 246 total, and OKC favored by, what, 10, 11 points? Like, if you're going to get – you might get like 33 minutes out of Hartenstein in that scenario. Going to be hard not to get there if, you know, in this pace-up game with so much scoring for a center who's skilled, who can kind of do it all. So I like Hartenstein. I like the Okongwu call. I mean, if Sharpe can go – what do you go for, 62? Obviously, Atlanta's got a few more weapons around them than Brooklyn did, but still, 5,600 for Okongwu. Obviously, the upside is there as well. So, like the big men here, a lot depends on the Chet news. But if he's out, Hartenstein, I think the main guy I want. You know, as is often the case, there's a lot of centers in play, right? One reason why we get Joker seemingly, it seems like lower owned than he should be because there's so many good centers in play every night. I do think that's true already tonight. I mean, talked about 2 games and all 4 centers, right? Joker, Duren, Okongwu, and Hardenstein, if Chet is out, look like pretty good plays. So definitely a loaded position tonight, but I do think they are the best plays from this game.
Yep, loaded position for sure. Let's get to the next game. Let's talk about the Celtics and the Cavs, which should be a fun one. We do have obviously very important injury news because if Jaylen Brown, Luke Cornett, and Kristaps Porzingis, if they're all in, I'm seeing everyone below 10% owned in this game, and kind of for good reason, right? I don't think they would be as good a plays. But if these guys are out, this would shift it, especially if, hey, one of Jaylen Brown or Porzingis is out. You're going to like these guys. If both are out, you're going to love these guys, right? That's where it really, like, the slate shifts, and I think these guys just slide into most people's cores. I think that's going to be key. So we'll see what happens. I do think they play, though, in, like, a big game against the Cavs. I don't know. Joe Mazzulla doesn't consider it a big game, right? No game's a big game to him, but curious to see what you guys are thinking, how you're handling it. JSU, we got in the chat, Jake, he wants to play Mitchell and Tatum. And I don't think that's a bad way to do it, especially if these guys are out. So are you considering spending up for these studs, and how are you handling the news in this game?
Yeah, I mean, I played Mitchell in these spots a lot against the Celtics this year, and it's worked out pretty well. It's just I talk about it all the time. It's like I want to play him in the tougher or against the better teams, right? Against the better teams, where I can see them kind of boosting his minutes a little bit in Boston against the Celtics, defending champions. This is the spot. This is the Donnie spot. He likes big spots. And he's shown it this year. I mean, he's averaging like 50-something fantasy points against the Boston Celtics. That's not by accident. You know what I mean? He likes these spots. The minutes go up when he plays them. So I'm with Jake. I want to play some Donovan Mitchell. I think Jason Tatum is a good play as well. And I'm fine with pairing them. Both guys are good. I will say I do like Donnie a little bit more just because you're getting a $1,500 savings between him and Tatum, but I'm into it. Who knows what happens with Porzingis? He's listed as questionable again with another illness, man, going. This guy's been sick. He's been sick, not sick, non-COVID. I want to know if that the Celtics beat reporter, can you let us know?
It's a non-COVID illness, JSU. Just so you know, it's a non-COVID illness.
Jeez. I was going to tweet at him just to make sure, but okay, Mangone told me, so we're good. Thank God. Porzingis, non-COVID, he's good. But man, it's lingering, I guess. I don't know what's going on, but it's a lingering cold or something this guy's got. So DC, I'm still kind of pissed. Can you tell from the night we touted him and played him? So still a little annoyed, but it feels like he could be out. Drew Holiday's already out, and then I think Jaylen Brown's back. It feels like he's back for this game here against Cleveland. But if those 2 guys are out, that still opens up some here. So maybe like a Derek White, I could see adding to the pool in tournaments. So he's got some upside. We've seen a couple 40-point games from him. 3 of the last 5, he's 41 or more. And he's been playing better of late too. He definitely had a slump there for a little bit, but he's been coming out of it recently. And I like the way he's been playing. So yeah, Donnie, Tatum, Derek White, those are the 3 guys I have right now. If Porzingis is out, obviously you could possibly add in either a Luke Cornett if he's in. If he's out, then, maybe a Big Al or something like that because he's in. So we'll see. It takes a lot for me to play Al Horford, so it would need me to take like all the bigs out, I think, but it could happen.
All right, DC, talk about this game. Obviously, you're upset by Porzingis earlier in the week. There's DK winnings. There's not many lately, but it's a great time to bounce back with some Porzingis. So are you loading up on him here again?
Yeah, Jesse says it takes a lot for him to play Al Horford. It doesn't take a lot for Mangone to play Al Horford. Mangone's chomping at the bit to get Al Horford into his lineup, so he doesn't need Al Horford.
I actually like.
DC, can you give me a rundown of Mangone's washed up All Stars? Like, go. You got 5. Can you give me 5 Mangone washed up All Stars? Like, who are the 5?
Tobias Harris is captain. He's captain. Horford is on the squad. Chad, help me out here, Chad. Who else is on the?
Come on, Chad. Let's get the Mangone has been All Stars here. We got 2.
That's
what
a
else
good
do
question.
Bogdanovich. He loves playing Bogdanovich.
No, I don't. I don't. No, that's I have faded him all year. I'm not accepting that.
Oh, you're right. You're right. You did fade him in that one spot when he was super popular.
Everyone wanted to play him. Yeah.
Paul
George.
I don't like Paul George. That's fake news.
Neesmith's not old though. I mean, he might be washed, but he's not old. LeBron's old, but he's still somehow not washed. I don't understand.
Mangone loves getting a value play of Mike Conley.
Mangone, you were totally a PJ Tucker stan when he was like 3K every slate or 3,200.
A while back, but he's like
yeah, no, that's a good call, William. I'm putting PJ in there. That's a good call. Dylan Brooks, you are not a Dylan Brooks guy, are you?
I hated him, and I've definitely circled back a little bit.
No,
I circled back. I've circled back. He's been good to me, man. He's been good with the Rockets. He stopped being a clown. He stopped doing TikTok dances. Like, he's good, man. I'm not a Taj Gibson guy or Kelly O and Daniel Tice. Those guys are on there. Daniel Tice is another one. Yeah.
Daniel Tice. Yeah, that's a good one. That's definitely on Mangone's one. So, all right, that's 5 right there. We got 5.
I like Kelly O too. Kelly O is a really good fantasy.
The players he likes are so scrubby. It's hard to remember them because they don't. Most of us don't think about these players very often.
Isaiah Joe's another good one.
But he's not old, is he? Is he old?
Shit, I just banned him. That was my bad. I don't know how to unban someone. I clicked the wrong button because the chat messed up.
You donkey. You can't ban Robert after such a great call.
I know. I hit the wrong button because the chat kept moving like crazy because B-Nair was typing stupid shit like Jeffrey Epstein and Chris Hansen. Like, gosh, not good.
Wait, how the hell are you banned him like that? I don't know. Mangone. Robert, we apologize. That's Mangone's fault. It's Mangone's fault.
I actually know who that person. I know who that person is. That's the funny part. So I'll help him out. I'll fix it for him at some point. All right, that's my gross starting 5. DC, did you talk about this game?
No.
Because JSU cut in with Al Horford. That's why.
Yeah.
No, DC was the one that talked about it. I cut in with the top 5.
Oh, okay. Yeah, my bad.
Obviously, a lot depends on the Boston news, right? Like, it's easy to say that, they'll probably play Jaylen Brown and Porzingis, right? A big game against Cleveland. But, like, let's be honest. This is not really a big game for Boston. I mean, coming off a championship, it's just one game in the regular season. They could sit Porzingis and or Jaylen Brown. If they do, we know the rotation is going to be they just don't introduce a lot of new guys to the rotation when they're missing guys. It kind of just tightens up. So in that scenario, White, Pritchard, Tatum, probably those 3. We'll leave Mr. Horford to Mangone's lineups. But those 3 would become awesome plays. You can play them anyway if you want to. I mean, a pretty good spot for Boston overall. Should be close. Should see a lot of minutes too. I will say these teams are both teams that, their stars can play more minutes. This could potentially be a game where we see minutes ceilings from both sides, particularly Cleveland, right? Who's really cautious with their minutes at times. So, really good game overall. Good total. Should be close. Just pay attention to that Boston news and potentially, I think 2 or 3 Celtics could be in play.
All right. Yeah, they definitely could be. That's going to be something we got to watch for, obviously, with the news. Let's get to a shitty basketball game. This is the type of game that JSU and I, while we wait for Big T's dumbass to get down from the hotel, this is a game that me and JSU watch and relax while we're waiting for him to take his time because Big T is always late. The chat knows it. JSU and I know it. Portland and Brooklyn, a fun DFS game to watch. We saw the Dayron Sharp game the other day, which was absolutely insane. Of course, we got Nick Claxton back, so we're not too worried about that. Big thing, though, I know that the Rumpier Discord was not happy. Denny Avia got hurt the other day. He did try to be a hero and get back in there. He is questionable, along with Jeremy Grant. Another notable injury thing to mention on the Brooklyn side, we have the return of Cam Thomas at 6.6K, which this would be a good matchup for him. I doubt they're running him out there in the first game, for like 35 plus minutes or something crazy like that, because the Nets are not trying to win basketball games. But he is back. It's just notable. I do think we're going to have some good value on the Portland side. If there was a matchup for Scoot Henderson to figure it out, I do think he could get it done at 5.3K. And Anthony Simon, 7K does feel expensive, but with no Denny Avia, there's usage to go around. And Shadon Sharp, he had a huge game the other day. He was the biggest beneficiary with no Denny Avia. He's 5.4K. And we did just get word that Porzingis is ruled out. So that's important news. Obviously, that'll shift the slate a ton. Did we get Jaylen Brown yet, JSU?
I don't know. I'm not sure about Jaylen Brown. Get Porzingis. Get a tissue. Pour that man some Tylenol or something. Get him a cough drop. I mean, seriously, something. At least they did it though, like at 12 in the afternoon to let us know he was at least questionable. I don't see Jaylen Brown though. I think Jaylen Brown's gonna play, man. Going.
Yeah, I think so too. And Stevers, this is what I want to say. Big T embellishes everything, always does. He was upstairs eating a gummy and didn't tell us, and that's fake news. So we got up right away, JSU, right? And we went to roll dice with him instantly, right?
Yeah. That's where we did. It's true. And I will say Big T is on Big T time. So if you don't know what Big T time is, that's his own personal time. He doesn't worry about what the clock says. Doesn't matter if we're doing this at 7 or 8. He's just on his own time. So whenever he gets there is the time to eat or to roll dice or whatever. And sometimes, man, he won't tell us, because he doesn't even know himself. So that's the thing. Like, it's complete fake news when Big T says shit like that, because he's on his own time. It's not the normal time that we all see. It's his time.
What a way to live your life, like a fucking champion. You don't even need to know what time it is at any point. You just kind of show up, and that's when it gets. I mean, he treats these shows the same way. We don't know if he's going to show up. Or
if I didn't complain about wanting to eat, I would have never gotten him to his surprise 40th birthday party, because he was just like oblivious to everything else, just doing his lineups. And it was like an hour later. And so I had to go in there and be like, dude, I'm starving, even though I wasn't really starving, but I'm a great actor when I want to be, I just get on there and I do my thing. And I was, dude, I'm fucking starving, bro. We got to go. And I think I made him feel bad, because I think he realized he told me like we'd be leaving soon. And that was like an hour ago. And so I pulled that card and it worked. And I luckily got him there. But yeah, it's just Big T story right there.
All right. But yeah, talking about the game, JSC, we are on Portland and Brooklyn. It'll be a decent DFS game.
I will say this game, I know Mangone kind of shit on it, because it's two not so great teams. Even though Portland, to their credit, they've been playing tough. Let's give them a little credit here down the stretch. They've been playing some tough basketball. They've gotten some dubs. So give a little credit to Portland here. But I do think injuries are definitely going to be a thing, because if you lose one of these two questionable guys to the already, bigs that they're down, it makes some of the other guys like Shadon Sharp, Anthony Simons, Kamara, Scoot Henderson, it would make them much better plays. So right now it's kind of just waiting to see if we can get this news. This game is at 7:30. I'm hoping, we get this news in the next maybe hour, Mangone. Hopefully we get the news and then we can react to it. If Denny's out, which I don't know about you guys, I'm kind of leaning towards he misses, Jeremy Grant plays. That's what I'm kind of leaning towards. Then I think I'm gonna like Shadon the most, and then after him it would be like Simons, Kamara, Grant, Scoot. But it would make these guys really, really good plays. If Denny and Grant are in, then I think these guys are still good plays, but I don't feel the need to have to play multiple Portland guys. You know what I mean? Whereas I think if one or two of these guys are out, I'm going to feel the need to play multiple Portland. So that's how I feel about the Portland side. I'm kind of just waiting for the news, and then I'll adjust. And then I do also think, Klingon was, in a little bit of foul trouble. I know his minutes aren't great in general, but I do think this is a matchup that he could have a big game, especially if they're missing a Denny too. Like, this is a spot where if he can stay out of foul trouble, he could have a nice fantasy game. So I'm going to keep him in the pool as well. On the Brooklyn side, I'm probably just staying away. Cam Thomas is back. This is the first game he's played since like the beginning of January, I think, was the last game he played. So it's been a while. I can't see him playing a ton of minutes. So I'm probably just out on the Brooklyn side.
All right. Out on the Brooklyn side for JSU. Obviously, the Portland news is big, DC. How are you going to attack it?
Yeah, big news on Avdia and Grant. Like JSU mentioned, if both those guys are out, I think the really interesting scenario is if they both sit, at which point I think Kamara, Sharp, really, everything outside. I think it affects everything outside of the center position in a positive way for Portland if one or both of those guys sit. So Portland, certainly a team to monitor. I thought Brooklyn was a little interesting until I realized that Cam Thomas, now back in the fold. To me, his being back is enough to take away interest in Killian Hayes, Keon Johnson, Cam Thomas. I do think even Zaire Williams, I do think all those guys were somewhat interesting plays, but probably not going there tonight with Thomas back in the fold. And honestly, I know Brooklyn performed really well last game. In general, though, a team that has a lot of disappointing performances. So we'll see on the news. I do think it's the Portland side that's potentially a lot more interesting if one or both of Avdia and Grant are out. Obviously we'll know that as this second set of game locks. But Portland side, certainly got to keep an eye on that.
Yes, we do. We got another good game up. Toronto and the Chicago Bulls. Definitely some important news in this game. We have the biggest chalk piece on the slate, which is Jalen Smith, showing at 42% owned. Ayo Dosunmu, questionable. Vucevic, questionable. Scotty Barnes, he is also questionable. So big pieces of news to discuss here, JSU. We know we like to target the Bulls and the Raptors. There should be no defense being played. What's your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, big up pace game. Toronto and Chicago. Always like picking on Chicago spots here. I do feel like this is a good spot for someone like Scotty Barnes to really crush Chicago from a defensive perspective. I think they're going to struggle guarding him. And then on the Chicago side with no Vooch, you said it, like Jalen Smith's going to be very popular. I wonder, though, if they continue to start Zach Collins. Maybe they go to Jalen Smith. I think people are just assuming they do, right, Mangone? By that projection, I think people assume he's going to start. Either way, though, he's really cheap. So whether he starts or not, I mean, obviously it's better if he starts, but I do think they kind of split the center minutes down the middle. So it does suck for Collins, who, he got the big run last game. I don't think he gets that. I think he gets more like, I think these guys both play like between like 22 and 26 minutes. It's kind of like whoever's playing better. But Jalen Smith to me seems like the better play just because of the price. Other than that, like Josh Giddey, I'm going to keep playing some Josh Giddey just because keeps posting pretty much triple-double numbers, so or close to it anyways. And on top of that, he's scoring at a really good rate. I mean, his three-point shooting, I will say too, and I've watched a lot of him, when he started in the NBA, and his shot was so bad. Like, it was so bad. It still looks horrible too, by the way. It's still like a lot to say. But it's going in a lot more now. 3 for 4 from 3, 4 for 6 from 3, 3 for 5 from 3, 3 for 3, 4 for 4. That's the last 5 games from 3-point range. And then from obviously the free throw line, he's been hitting his free throws when he goes there. And we already know what he can do, rebounding, getting others involved with assists. He's just the full fantasy, package, especially when he's scoring. Because that was the last, step for him. He already had all the other things down. Scoring was the last thing. If this guy could become a consistent shooter, we already knew he could take it to the cup. He can make the right pass, get rebounds. So now he's kind of made it into a full package. We'll see if he can keep this up consistency wise, but man, he's been hot, this last 5 or 6 game stretch here. So I'm going to keep playing some of him. And then I do think the third guy to just keep in your pool would be Lonzo Ball, just because of the price at 4,600, I think is cheap, but I don't think I'm going to get to him on my 3 teams, but I do think I would keep him in the pool if you were playing 20 or 150.
All right, DC, obviously a game we got to discuss. What are you doing, Jalen Smith chalk, I guess, for now? Obviously, it could change as the slate, keeps gaining news, but what's your thoughts on Jalen Smith chalk in the rest of this game?
So Smith, again, we don't know who's going to start between him and Zach Collins. I honestly think that's, it could go either way. Neither one would shock me whatsoever. I will say this about Jalen Smith. He's played 20-plus minutes twice all season, and he's been, frankly, healthy pretty much all year. So 2 times out of, I don't know what the 60 games, 50, 60 games he's played 20-plus minutes. And he's coming off a 3-game absence due to a pretty tough concussion. I saw it happen. He was very shaken up, missed 3 games. I mean, if you're the Bulls, a player that you don't want to give big minutes or seemingly don't want to give big minutes to anyway, coming off a concussion, just logically, I would think they would kind of ease him back, let Collins start, bring Smith off the bench in his normal role. So that's kind of what I expect. And if that happens, not that he's a bad play at 3,700. He's a good fantasy per minute producer. But what will happen, Mango, and this is true, not that many people will swap off him, because right now a lot of people thinking he's starting. He's obviously not as good of play off the bench, but a lot of people will just leave him in their lineups. He'll be way overowned to what he should be if he does come off the bench in this game, because everyone's got him in their builds right now, assuming he's going to get the starting nod. So if he does not start, in my opinion, he's going to be much higher owned than he typically would have been, in probably the same role that he normally has, even when Vucevic is healthy. So I'm going to be careful with Jalen Smith. I do think if he's starting, you got to kind of assume that he is good to go then, right? At least that's what I'm going to assume. If he's coming off the bench, I think there's a very good chance they really ease him back on minutes. Maybe he plays 12 or 13 minutes as one of the more popular plays on the slate. That's bad chalk, right? If something like that happens. So I'm going to be careful with Jalen Smith, obviously depending on if he's in the starting lineup or not. And then, Josh Giddey, I mean, he does it every single night. I know the shooting is unsustainable, but he's filling up the box score. Good matchup against Toronto. I do think he's a pretty strong play. Those are the 2 guys that I'm really looking at from Chicago. And then Toronto, I like the Barnes call down there at 8,600. If he's in, I think this is a good spot for RJ Barrett as well. Those would be the 2 guys from Toronto that I'd be looking at most closely.
All right, we got 3 games left to talk about here. Next one up, this is definitely a key injury one, starting at, I believe, 8 o'clock. So, right, that's in that window. We got Desmond Bain questionable, G.G. Jackson questionable, Josh Hart questionable, Mitchell Robinson, and Karl Anthony Towns all questionable on this slate. And, hey, if all those guys are in, this isn't a really interesting game. I mean, there's fine plays that you can definitely target. We've seen Memphis in some shootout games and the Knicks. They don't play a lot of defense. Obviously, Karl Anthony Towns, if he's in, he'll be low-owned and could be a good play. But if he's out, usage slides over to Jalen Brunson. If Josh Hart is out, that's going to help It's going to help Mikal Bridges. It's going to help DC's boy, OG Anunoby. Obviously, we'll get a little bit of a boost at 5.8K. And if a Desmond Bane is out, that'll help more of the studs. And maybe it helps like a Santi Aldama at 5.3K, who JSU, I know you talk about a bunch, but 5.3K is a little expensive for Santi Aldama. What are you doing with him? And what are you doing with the rest of the guys in this game and the news?
Yeah, I mean, I talk about Santi a bunch because he's always like the one guy from Memphis that I feel like is close to appropriately priced on most slates. But normally he's like in the upper 4Ks, not in like the low 5Ks. But I still think, you can play him. I don't think you need to go there, but he's clearly got upside. I mean, the guy just dropped 40. He's had a couple 30-point games. And then the games, he didn't get 30 plus. He just missed, 28, 29. Those are his last 5. So he clearly is still someone who you can go to. Desmond Bane is questionable. So I do think that plays into this slate a little bit, because if he is out, it does make, the Jaren Jacksons, the John Morants better plays just on the surface. And I did like that, you saw Ja, I mean, it was an OT game. He got 14 free throw attempts. He was pretty lucky to get there, but he got there. It was a huge game. And I think you can go to these guys. The Knicks as a team are in trouble, because this team, when it comes down to it, they're not beating those top teams in the East. They're just not. So I think they're in trouble. They're already starting to get banged up too. This is the classic Tibbs team. I feel like they always kind of start to get injuries, and OG fell. OG's always had issues. Now Josh Hart's been dealing with, some type of, I think it was a knee or I don't know, something he's been dealing with for a little while. He's been questionable, been playing through it for the most part, but now you got Cat a little banged up, missed last game. I thought he was going to play too, and then he didn't. The kid who started for him, he got hurt in that game, so he's out. The Knicks are just a mess right now, but it's all going to come back to who plays and who doesn't. Like if Hart and Towns are both in, I'm going to be lower on the Knicks. If Hart and Towns are out, or if one of them are out, then I'm going to like the other one if the other one's in, and maybe like Jalen Brunson or Precious Achua, depending on if Cat's the one that's out. So, it's completely news-based. If Towns is out, I'm going to like Hart, Brunson, Achua in that order. If Towns is in and Hart's out, then I think it would be like, Cat, then Brunson would be the two. But that's kind of how I see this game. It's very news dependent on what happens with these guys. I feel like I thought Cat was going to play last time though, so I don't know if I have a good feel on Cat here, but it kind of feels like one of these guys might sit, Hart or Cat.
Yeah, I could see one of them sitting. If it does, obviously, we know Tom Thibodeau, right? He loves to pound minutes all day long for these guys. Also, pour one out for, Mr. Ariel Hawk-Porty. He is out for the season after his spot start. That was a K-Phallic core play the other day, Kevin. Kevin, we told you, we made fun of you in the chat not to do that.
K-Phallic did not play him over Day'Ron Sharpe and Collins and all those center play. He did not.
Kevin did core Ariel, and that was
Wait a second. I forgot about this. What about Kevin's favorite condom play, Jeremy Grant? Hold on, let me pull him back up real quick. I gotta go back, man. Going. How did Jeremy Grant do last slate, Kevin? Hold on, let's see. He definitely gave him a condom. Yeah, what did I told you shooting too. 1 for 7 from 3, 27 fantasy points. Suck it, Kevin. Great play. Can't remember the other Kevin plays, right? Go in on all of them.
Yeah, I just wanted to make fun of the Ariel one. I know I saw AP posted the Aaron Rodgers American flag gif for Ariel's performance. That was funny. And yes, Aaron Gordon is unlikely to play. DC, talk about what you're doing with this Knicks and Memphis game, though.
Of course, so much depends on the Knicks news with Towns and Hart. I'm with you, Jesse. I thought Towns was going to play. He didn't. It's the same injury. You got to assume there's at least a chance he sits, right? Anytime someone sits with an injury one night and it's the next game, I mean, yeah, there's a good, decent chance at least that Towns sits. Hart obviously dealing with something as well. I mean, you could get a situation where both those guys are out. Mitchell Robinson could return, but he hasn't played all year. You got to imagine 10 minutes tops. I mean, even with Tibbs, it can't be many minutes for Robinson. Our man, Porty, he's that's got to suck so bad. By the way, to get I assume his first and maybe only NBA start ever, and get injured on the same day. So feel bad for him. But yeah, New York's interesting. I will say they have a weird thing going on. Obviously, they have a good record overall, but they are like the ultimate front runners. Not that surprising for a team led by Karl Anthony Towns, where they demolish the bad teams and really struggle. If you look at their record against playoff teams, it's pretty bad. Here on Friday night, banged up, going on the road into Memphis, one of the better teams in the league. This does feel like a game where the Knicks could potentially get blasted a little bit by the Memphis Grizzlies. Wouldn't be surprised to see a Grizzlies blowout in this one. So, obviously, especially if Towns and Hart are out, which, of course, those guys being out is what would draw you to the Knicks anyway. But it would also, I think, greatly increase the chances, obviously, of that blowout occurring. So I'm going to be a little cautious with the Knicks. I think on paper they might end up looking pretty good, and I do love playing the Knicks in general. But I'm a little cautious on this game.
All right, DC is cautious about this game. I'm curious to see if he'll be cautious about the next one because it's not one that I absolutely love. We did see Mr. Tyrese Halliburton, as people hate how I pronounce his name, and I'm going to keep doing it to piss you all off. He had a monster game against the Raptors. Can he do it again against the Miami Heat at 8.5K? Tyler Hero, 8.7. Of course, we do have some news in this game that is important. TJ McConnell, he's out. He's been out. And then we also have Bam Adebayo and Andrew Wiggins, questionable. And if one of those guys miss or both of them miss, that's going to be huge, right? That's going to open up the door for players. Maybe Mr. basically DNP Kyle Anderson finally gets back in there. I don't know if people will go back to the well for him when he was chalk and did absolutely terrible. And it's also Tyrese's birthday. So happy birthday to Tyrese. JSU, I'll go to you, though, because this is not a game I love, but I'll say this, it'll change my opinion if Bam or Wiggins or both are out in this game.
Pour one out for the people that played 20-something% on Kyle Anderson. That's just I'll tell you right now, that's what you get. If you played Kyle Anderson on the last slate, and me and DC talked about him, I think we didn't like him, but if you played him on that last slate, you deserve that big donut on your team. You just
it's an extra kick in the nuts that he played 2 minutes, right? It's way worse than 0.
Just the 2 minutes, DC. It was great though because like the Kyle Anderson minutes, they're going to be spot minutes. They're going to be random. I think he's going to be very tough. Unless you see him starting, I think he's going to be a very tough guy to just be like, yeah, he's going to do what he did last time. Like everyone thought like he played well. He got 28 minutes that one game. So the next game he's going to get it. That's just not how it's going to work with Kyle. Probably with vets, it's going to work the opposite way with someone like Spo too. So you got to be really careful with these older, vet type guys like Kyle Anderson. So again, like if Andrew Wiggins is out and Bam is out, yeah, Kyle Anderson probably starts in that scenario. So that throws it out the door. But I don't know. I don't know if they play Mangona. I feel like one of them plays. I feel like, Bam probably plays, but who knows? If they don't play, then I mean, you definitely want to load up Tyler Hero. Like I want Tyler Hero if they both are out. And then I think you can play a few other guys like, Jaquez probably gets a start maybe. Maybe it's Jaquez, maybe it's Kyle Anderson. Ware probably becomes a better play in that scenario. So the Heat become really good plays if Bam and Wiggins are out. And that's like a backload spot. It's probably a spot Mangone's like, hoping he catches, if he's backloading some teams, he hopes he catches, some of these Miami guys out. And then on the Indy side, it's really just Halliburton. And DC, we talked about him, I think, last show when he went nuts. We liked him. he smashed 8,500 though. It was the price tag too. We were like, he's 8,200. Like that feels really cheap. 8,500 still seems pretty cheap. So he's the main guy I want from Indy. I don't think I'm going to play, even though Matherin's out. I don't know if I'm going to play any of these other guys just because I feel like we're going to get better value plays. But Neesmith's been pretty good. You know, I don't feel like I'm going to need to play someone like him, but I wouldn't throw him out of the pool.
All right, JSU, throw him out of the pool. Also, Brian is very happy about the injury rundown. So count that as one person that was very happy that the injury rundown went down. So
1 out of like 200 and something, or 300 and something, whatever it is.
Brian's like Jon Snow drawing his sword on the oncoming crowd, like trying to fend everybody off.
Yeah. That's so good.
Hey, I got to give a shout out. I got to shout out my boy, Stevie Boynton. Stevie Boynton gives college winners. The guy grinds college basketball. I got to give him a shout out. I had this no sweat bet on DK a couple nights ago. I didn't even tell him this either. I said, let me look at what Stevie Boynton's got. He had three bets on the board. I picked them all, 3 winners. Easy stuff. So if you like winners and you like college hoops, Stevie Boynton's the guy. Check him out. He's got some great content if you're into the college streets.
All right. Yeah, I might get in college tomorrow. I thought about getting in the streets. If so, I'm sure Steve will have a college show to watch tomorrow. So be sure to check it out.
I got a little 50-1 Johnny Broom Wooden Award winner ticket I'm sitting on to win $5K, placed with Steve Boynton at a DraftKings kiosk in Chicago last summer. That's like minus 250 or so to hit right now. So thank you, Mr. Boynton, college basketball goat.
Wait,
no doubt about it.
What'd you get him at?
50-1.
Ooh, baby!
In order to collect that, do you have to fly back to Chicago?
No, just on the app, waiting to. They named the winner on April 11th, which it turns out a great baseball slate to play the Thunderdome. So I'm looking forward to that day.
DC's like, yes, that's going to hit my account, and then I'm throwing it right into the Thunderdome, baby. He's already got it planned, too. That's amazing.
Oh, man, that's good stuff. All right, DC.
50-1, though, that's huge. That's going to be awesome when it hits. That's going to feel good.
That's definitely a nice bet waiting to go. Chicago paid off. A nice summer in Chicago.
Is Cooper Flag, he's got to be like 2 or 3, right? Cooper Flag? He's
second. It's going to be one of the 2 for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, DC, talk about this next game, Pacers and Heat, and the obvious injury news that could shift the slate.
Yeah, so I think if you missed the Halliburton game last time out, I'm not chasing that game. I had it on my own team, but I'm not playing it again. I think that was kind of the ceiling game. And we talked about it on the show. He's got this weird thing where he's just way better at home, especially in the shooting. And, of course, he shot, 12 for 15, 7 of 9 from 3. Now he goes on the road to Miami. I'm hopping off the Halliburton train. Thank you for your service, Mr. Halliburton, but not tonight for me. Honestly, Indiana's kind of that way for me in general in this game. I don't see a ton here that I want to end up on and probably won't. And then, Miami side, much more interesting, obviously, depending on the news. Adebayo in particular. Yeah, actually Wiggins too. I would kind of put them in that same bucket of both being very important. So if both those guys are out, no problem paying up for Hero, who I assume will go lower owned, assuming we don't get the Bam or Wiggins news, prior to lock. So, I think the Miami side is more interesting, but I do think it's really entirely dependent on at least one of Bam or Wiggins missing. I really don't have all that much interest if both those guys are in.
Is man going frozen? I think he's frozen.
Oh, okay. I thought it was just hard to work over there in the corner.
Nope, he just looks that way, but he's definitely frozen. So I don't. We'll see what happens with Mangone. We lost our injury news.
For a second, JSU, I thought he muted me while I was talking, and because he doesn't listen anyway, so he just puts me on mute, and he wasn't sure I was done.
He just thought you were done and just muted you or something like that. Yeah, no, he's definitely frozen. So we'll see when he comes back. We did, I think, make it though to the last game, so we at least waited till the last game to freeze up, and we'll see if he can hold Maybe he'll hold through the whole game breakdown, DC. Who knows? So nope, he didn't. I figured that was going to happen, so I had that ready to go. But all right, until he gets back here, I'll take over the old hosting duties. New Orleans and Phoenix was the last game on the slate here, and there's a ton of injury news, so it's ironic that Mangone freezes up on us before this game where everybody's out, DC. All the guys are out. It was going to be easy. He could just rattle off name by name every single guy that was out. But this Phoenix team they're on life support right now. They are struggling. Big time loss yesterday to the Pels. Now they play them again. And the Pels are like, hey, listen, we're going to rule out Zion, CJ. We're going to give CJ a rest here. Brandon Boston's still out. Come on, like Phoenix. Let's try and get it done here. Let's try and get this thing to the finish line for you guys. It's tough scene watching Phoenix right now. But Mangone, you're with us. We just started to talk about Phoenix and New Orleans, but I'll give you the hosting role back if you want to go through all the injuries and do your whole thing.
Of course. Well, we do have Bradley Beal out. We got, obviously, that's a big piece of news. We saw it yesterday. And then, of course, we have Grayson Allen doubtful. And then, Jason, you said it at the top, right? Like, we can backload this slate if we want to because we have great news later on. You know what I mean? We got CJ McCollum out, Zion out. Huge key pieces here, which is going to open up a ton of value in this game. So, JSU, I don't know how much you talked about this game. I doubt you talked too in depth, but this is clearly going to be a really good game if news doesn't hit the way we want it to, right? Let's say you're waiting for Cat or Hart to be out and you don't play any Knicks. There's tons of plays that you can get to. I do love Tyus Jones. I think he is a great play at 3.8K. The price actually went down. Devin Booker, Kevin Durant. I know they're not fans of Hooters, DC, but hey, they're good plays here in this spot. And then, of course, the New Orleans Pelicans. Kelly Olynyk's back in our life at 5K. He's not part of the Dusty Mangone squad. I'm a fan of him tonight. Jose Alvarado, 5'9", feels cheap, but definitely am playing. Jordan Hawkins, he was on my team that crushed yesterday, so I'll be going back to the well at 4K. So, JSU, a lot of plays to like, and we did just get some big news in Portland. Denny and Grant, they are ruled out. So what's your thoughts here on this game, JSU?
Yeah, my thoughts are that I think there's a lot of good plays from this game. I think especially on the New Orleans side, Jose Alvarado, when he gets the minutes, is really good. And I think he's 5,900, so the price tag is up there, but I do think he's a pretty good tournament play. And I wonder what his ownership's going to be, because I do think as we get through like that news with Portland, Mangone is going to bring, ownership down on guys like Jose, because I do think a lot of people are going to go to this Portland game now, and they got a lot of guys in that like 5K range too. So it'll be interesting to see what the ownership comes in at on some of these guys. But, Trey Murphy with those guys out, I think is a good spend if you want to go there. I like Kelly Olynyk, 5K. It feels like, too, he's got more of like a higher ceiling than someone like Messi. So if I have to choose between the two, I think I'd go Kelly Olynyk. And then Jordan Hawkins, I feel like his, projection, at least what we got on Sabre, is a little low. RPS, we're a little higher on Jordan Hawkins. I probably agree a little bit more with the RPS projection than I do the Sabre projection. But I do think he's another good play here, 4K. So, yeah, I'm cool with 3 or 4 guys from the Pels. On the Phoenix side, it's kind of the same guys I liked yesterday. I'm going to like again, like Devin Booker, Bol, Tyus Jones, I think are all good plays. I probably rank them Booker, then Bol, Tyus, but they're going to be pretty high owned, I would assume, especially Bol and Tyus. But I get why they're very good plays, especially at those price tags. They're too cheap. Booker, all of them should be, I think, 700 to 1,000 more.
Yeah, a late night hammer on this game. I'm not going to complain about it. Matkovic, I think it's Matkovic. I don't know why I'm struggling with that name, but he is a good play. DC, I'd be curious to get your take on him and all the other values in this game because this is a clear game. If value does not go your way, we can easily just play a bunch of these guys, and I think they're in really great spots.
Yeah, it is one of the appealing parts of backloading on the slate is, kind of worst case scenarios, you end up on a bunch of players from this game, which really is not a bad worst case scenario at all, right? I have no problem if I have to end up playing 4 or 5 players from this game. It looks good on both sides to me with all the key pieces out. Our guy Skreitson said, I found this information too. Alvarado, if you take these guys off the court, DeJounte Murray, McCollum, Zion, all the rest of them, Alvarado's numbers are hard to believe good in 150, 200 minutes, something like that. 1.7 fantasy points per minute, something crazy like that. I don't remember the exact number, but an absurd number. Not that I'm expecting Alvarado to go for 50 or 60 fantasy points, but at 5,900, he does feel like a really good play to me. And honestly, I kind of think Alvarado, Murphy, and Olynyk, right? I think you could potentially kind of play those 3 guys together, especially in the starting lineup. If New Orleans plays well, I would kind of expect all 3 of those guys to get there. Messi could have a good game as well. So I really like the New Orleans side. And you got to like the Phoenix side here too with Beal out. They're giving big minutes to, of course, Booker and Durant night in and night out. The matchup couldn't get much better. Just an awesome game all around. It's the Bull too. Those 3, right? Booker, Durant, Bull, I think are the 3 that I would consider. Not sure I would go beyond them. And in New Orleans side, they look like an awesome play tonight. So maybe the best game of the night to end the slate, which isn't usually the case, obviously. And when it is, gives even more credence to our, kind of preferred strategy to backload for the most part. So does seem like a pretty good path tonight.
Yeah, does seem like a good path. JSU, you're going to chime in. What's your thoughts?
I talked about, good rebounding guards. My guy, Jose Alvarado, little guy, good rebounding guard too. So I think his Jose Alvarado's alts look very interesting to me on DraftKings Sportsbook. If you want some fun bets, I see some nice
Jose Alvarado show without JSU touting some short guy and making sure he mentions pound for pound, inch for inch champion Jose Alvarado.
It's on brand, all right, and you got to give him some respect, okay? We're giving him a little bit more respect. I'm trying, Jose.
Yeah, I will say 5'9" is not cheap for him, but the role is too good, right? I think I'm going to be on him. He's a good play for sure. Like Jordan Hawkins and a lot of other plays in that game. Let's get to the plays of the day. DC, I'm going to have you kick it off first for us. Who do you got? Who is your play of the day?
Play of the day. Let's go to Portland, missing Grant and Avdia. In a great spot in Brooklyn. Give me the steals master, defensive wizard, and hopefully in a better offensive role tonight, Mr. Toumani Camara. I think he could have a good game in Brooklyn tonight.
All right, like the call there. We have news flying in, and because we have news flying in, I think this guy, listen, I'm not caring too much about ownership here, but he's going to have some ownership. I talked about him earlier. Clear mispricing on him. I'm going back to Onyeka Okongwu at 5.6K as my play of the day. JSU, who do you got? Who is your play of the day?
I like that call, man. I'm just going to go back to the well with Josh Giddey. I mean, I'm seeing like 10% on Sabre. That's nice. And I get it. There's a lot of good plays on the slate, so I kind of get why he might be coming in at 10%, but the upside is there. And I mean, yeah, I like 10% Josh Giddey on this slate. So give me some Josh Giddey here.
Yep, I am with you on that. And yeah, I mean, if you look at chalk on this slate, I'll say this. Tyus Jones, I think he's good chalk at 3.8. Jalen Smith, I think he's bad chalk. But we'll see where it all shakes out. I do think ownership will spread as the night goes on. So Not super worried about it. I'll just get overweight on these plays that people can't get to, and we'll be swapping all night long. DC, give your final thoughts before we get on out of here.
Should be good Friday night. Did you get your play of the day, man, going? Al Horford? Did you get a good dimension?
No, he gave a good play. He gave Onyeka Okongwu.
Oh, yeah.
I gave Onyeka Okongwu. I will admit I have seen Al Horford's ownership, DC, 9%. If you're interested, I might be. So I'll consider getting in there today.
Count me in the 91%, fading Mr. Horford.
All right, count DC in the 91%. You won't be seeing Al Horford in his core plays, but we got to get on here because we got to get our core plays up and update the content over at Run Pure Sports. Use that code RPS15. Gets you 15% off. Thanks a lot for joining us here on the NBA Hardwood Show. For me, Mangone, JSU, and DC. We'll see you guys later.